Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and today I am joined by the lovely Lisa van Reeuwyk. So, Lisa is best known for dropping a quote in almost any situation and asking the kind of questions that crack you wide open. She's a multi certified coach, best selling author, TV producer and host, girl mom, and founder of Bloom Business Development. That's a big roster. Through her signature programs, people invest in private coaching and training to reclaim their clarity, trust their inner compass, and build businesses rooted in purpose and power. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Jess.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you on this show. So, um, Lisa and I have connected, many times throughout the last few years, but she's finally come over to the dark side and she joined a networking group that I'm a part of. And we're so happy to have her. But the thing that really stands out is that every single week she is on it. Like when we say that, when she says in her bio here that it's clarity and she's trusting her inner purpose and there's power behind it. It really is. It's not just what she's doing with her clients, but how she's showing up every single day. So I wanted to have her on the show so that we could all kind of step into her model of the world and find out what it's like to be this, very clear and purposeful. Really, I mean, I want to call you a storyteller because
Oh.
we get sucked in, right?
Oh, well, that's really nice to hear. And I wouldn't call it the dark side. My experience since joining is the bright side.
Yes.
I have just been absolutely loving it. So, thank you for that. So, yeah, we can definitely talk storytelling. Anything specific you want me to dive into that's really in support of your audience?
Well, I mean, I thought maybe we could kind of start with, how it's been for you because, reading that bio, you really have made a lot of changes through your career, but with being a TV host, with being a producer, that's about storytelling, right? Being a coach and helping people get clarity on their proposition, their value and like how they can, make like actually turn this awesome thing that they love doing into money and sales, right? So I'm curious, how did your journey with this start?
My journey started I feel like my journey started witnessing others. I guess there's a quality about me I've had since I was very young where I will meet people and they are telling me things that lead to the comment, I can't believe I'm sharing this with you. I just met you.
Yeah.
There's often tears involved. And this has followed me through decades of my life. It's happened multiple times in the last couple of months. And so I witness stories. I think, we talk about the VAC assessment. Are you a visual learner, audio or auditory or kinesthetic? And now they're discovering all these other ways, music or math or physicality. And I think storytelling is also a way where I hear things and to me it just clicks in as a story. And then through my work, I work with tons of creatives, wellness practitioners, really people that want to change the world in really beautiful ways. And a quality that's quite common with those, Jess, is in being introverted. And so being able to tell your story is so important and it overcomes a lot of barriers that we have about, oh, like I didn't have any business training. I certainly didn't have any sales training. Don't even say the word sales to me. It's too scary. I'm having nervous system dysregulation just at the thought of doing that. But if we don't have revenue, we don't have a business, and you can be incredible at what you do. And there's too many people that are, working from home, struggling to get ahead. And if they could shift their mindset into how do I tell my story? Because the truth is, we do business with people we like, and I love the line. It's really simple. Facts tell, but stories sell.
Mhm.
People will always remember how you made them feel. They likely won't remember much of what you said. And so through a story, and we all have a story, we live in such a polarizing time. But we also have so much more in common than different. We all want good quality of life. We want safety and happiness and joy and etc. Right. And so through stories, I think there's such an opportunity to grow your business and connect with other people. and attract the people that you want to
Mhm.
and repel the people that aren't going to be a good fit. Um, yeah,
Yeah. And it is true. It's, people in the wellness space, then, in creative space. It's like they are putting so much of themselves into their work, right? Like they're
yeah,
like, I'm healing this person, or I'm supporting them, or I'm putting my love and my passion into the art, or like what I'm doing. And some people can get kind of weird about wanting to ask for compensation for that because they're like, this is a gift I'm giving to the world. I'm giving this
yeah.
gift to the world. And so how dare I ask for compensation for this gift that I'm giving? So did you
Absolutely. And I find I have this conversation a lot. And traditionally, the way that we live today is so different than the way we lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and further back. And traditionally, the healers in a community were cared for by the community. You came and got well and you gave them the gifts. And so today that doesn't work. You can't pay your rent with chickens. So we just it's embedded in their psyche, and they go through their education without the business training, and they are conditioned to give. And um it's a really fun part of my work. Yeah, of course you're there to make a meaningful impact and heal and help, but you have the right to charge what you're worth.
Mhm.
And the thing is, when you work with purpose driven entrepreneurs, the coolest part is when you talk about, like, imagine all the good you can do with your money when you are really successful. You can start a foundation, you can make donations, you can have a life where you can give more of your time and energy. And so flipping the mindset into this, oh, if I embrace, like, I often think of how we endure situations and we're making this effort that's hard and grueling to grow. But if you switch over and think, how can I embrace what's in front of me and embody my experience? And so when we embody our experience, we can get into our story and understand my story is interesting. Whoever is listening, your story is interesting. And so we pull out the pieces. I love this example. I was working with this videography and animation company. We've been working together for a long time. I knew her story really, really well. And so we had done a lot of business coaching and specific sales training. And she was increasing her monthly revenue, hitting her targets. It was going really well. And she came to me, said, I feel like things are getting a bit stagnant. I want to massage this a bit. The structure is great, but we can do better. And so I said to her, said, hey, what if you open your discovery calls with this? So she's from South Africa. She came to Canada. And I said, what if you say, I love to shock my Canadian clients by telling them I grew up water skiing in a hippo and crocodile infested lake. And you know what? She did it and it worked. Because people are like, what? And, we don't all have such a shock and awe story, but it connected them to her. It brought the sales barrier down. It allowed her to tell a story about who she was and how she grew up, and piqued interest in her as a human being.
Mhm.
I often start with, well, I mean, how you introduced me, right? It's not, we don't want to lead with our credibility. I find to many of my clients, oh my goodness, they're so educated, Jess. I'm like, where did you find all the time? Like,
Yeah.
this lifelong learning is commendable, but we don't want to lead with that. What it's the kind of the back end, it's important. Like, that's the credibility and authority part. But when you get into your story, like, back to people do business with people they like, we want to find that piece of you that is interesting, that you can connect with others and attracts the type of clients. I'll talk about how I took my first yoga class when I lived in New York City. It says that when I was 18, it shows, oh, you lived in New York when you were 18 and you've been doing yoga your whole life. It says a lot about me in a way I want people to think about me. And it ties back into this, from the time we are young children and we start school, we're told to sit still and listen to someone else tell us what we need and what
Mhm.
we're doing. And yoga really allowed me to embody myself. And it's such a huge part of my work, where we get back to listening to ourselves and trusting ourselves to know what we need.
Hmm.
So we all have that. We all have that in our stories.
Yeah. And telling that story or that little piece of, kind of it's fascinating, right? Like whether it's the crocodile infested waters or like or the yoga in New York, like it
Yeah.
can build the rapport because if you start with like, yes, I did this and I did that, I did and like it could, maybe if the person that you're talking to is really, really highly educated too and they really value that, they're like, cool, this person gets it. There are like, but most people
Yeah.
are gonna be like, what does that have to do with me? Or like, are you trying to
Yeah.
intimidate me? Or are you trying to tell me you're better than me? Or like,
Yeah.
it can get in the way of building that rapport and of having them start to like and trust you and want to know more and be more connected up with you, right? I
Yeah.
prefer to
Well, if
yeah.
oh no, go ahead. I didn't.
No, I was going to say I prefer to show people,
Yeah.
what the value is rather than tell them, you know?
Yes, and yes, that's
Yeah.
the power of storytelling. And
Mhm.
so when I teach sales training, I teach a format, like a template, like go in this order. And when you do any kind of sales call, discovery call, whatever that is, or even the way you lay out your bio on your website, you want to start with why do why do I care about you? I like you. And then they keep reading and then they get into your story arc. This is where I came from. This is what I overcame. This is how I decided to go into this work. Tell your hero's journey, then get into your credibility. Then they're like, oh
Right.
yeah, oh, I like you. Okay, interesting. You've been through a lot. Oh, and you have this degree and this course and this certification. I'm in. Um,
Mhm.
Another piece I'll share just I work in a male dominated industry, not so much anymore, but certainly when I started and I really wanted to be taken seriously. Plus, you're younger. It's like, how do I establish my street cred here? And I struggled, I maybe vanillaed my presence online because I wasn't sure how to show up authentically. And I got to the point where uh, I was like, I'm really spiritual and I connect with people at this level. It's not always a part of my work, but it seems like a really strong connection point with me. Thought, how do I infuse this into my, online storytelling? And I decided to do it really simply. I had some photographs and maybe had some crystals in the background. And I thought, spiritual people will notice the crystals. Other people will just think they look pretty. And I added a sentence into my bio that I had been reading tarot cards since I was backpacking in Australia when I was 20. And I got 3 clients in the next 2 months who said, "I was looking for business coaches online, and when I read that in your bio, I knew you were the one for me."
Mhm. Right?
So,
And those tidbits are gonna land with the people they need to land with, and you're totally right. Other people will just breeze past it and be like, "That's cool," and move on, right? And when
yeah.
they find the
Yeah.
nugget that they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I share that to encourage you if you're struggling, like, how do I stand out?
Yeah.
I break it down this way. I love numbers. Like, I love running the numbers if, like, something makes sense. How many clients do you need this year? How many? How many people do you need to buy from you? Let's say, we're based in the Vancouver area. There's whatever close to 3 million people here now, I think. How many of those 3 million people do you need to buy from you? Probably less than 1%. So think about that. If you want to get as specific as you can, think of it like a Venn diagram. We've got you in one circle and these people that are going to be your clients in the other circle. Where the
Where's
two
that overlap?
overlap and meet, be there. It's
Mhm.
okay to just speak to that sweet spot in the middle. Trust me from years of experience. Like, I sent some red flags in this conversation, you can trust
Yeah.
those. And so the clearer you get about how you help, who you help, um, the better. And storytelling really is a great pathway to get there.
So then what do you find with like all of these introverts that you are working with? Because I mean, a lot of the time, like the people in the wellness world or the creative world, they're so used to just
Yes.
doing rather than like putting themselves out there. So
Yes.
how do you help the introverts kind of work through this so that they can feel comfortable, sharing themselves while honoring their own nature of being kind of a little bit more, maybe guarded, it's not the word, but just reserved about it.
For sure. That's a great question. I'm glad you
Yeah.
asked it. So I would say, speaking to the introverts, or if you have introverts in your life, um, there's so much power in being an introvert. So I think step one is honoring that. We live in a very extroverted world and we tend to think that's better. And somehow there's something we need to strive towards to be less introverted. So one, honor your introversion. And secondly, I would say get really clear on what your level of stimulation is that keeps you energized. For me, a lot of people don't see that right away that I'm highly introverted, but I know I am because when I have a lot of external stimulation, I need to rest. It depletes me. I need to go into nature and things like that. And so understand the level of stimulation that you need and get that and take care of yourself. In business, I think of it, um, we can go into say meditation or rest and percolate and get clarity. We start with clarity, but that's not enough. You do the meditation, you do the reflection. There has to be action that's paired with that, that aligns with the level of stimulation you're okay with. There are so many paths to growing your business and building relationships in your community. So, yeah, it's really like I'm not willing to start my own podcast, but I am willing to show up on LinkedIn, or there's no way I can do networking. It terrifies me. Oh, but I can go to this women's walking group because it's outside and I'm just talking to one person at a time. And so I just encourage you to understand what success means to you and what you need to be successful because yeah, I didn't start networking for years. I was terrified of it. And, it was the best thing I ever did. But I do really have to manage my energy.
Mhm. So then as an introvert, how do you how do you help your clients get comfortable sharing themselves?
Well, it all loops back to the storytelling that we
Yeah?
started with. It's oh my goodness, they're going to think I'm salesy or I'm putting
Yeah.
pressure on them. So again, it's finding your level of comfort. It's if someone is coming to you and they have a need, I feel like isn't it our responsibility to show up and be the best version of ourselves we can be?
Mhm.
Isn't that why we're here? Is to make a difference and live our purpose? There's so much meaning in living our purpose. Um, am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
You're allowed to swear.
I love this story from Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love. Most people know
Yeah.
that book. And I've been telling this story for years from her. And she calls it the shit sandwich, right? It's like,
Nice.
we're all eating a shit sandwich. It does not matter where you work, what you do. There is sacrifice and long hours and, all the things. So, how do you know you're eating the right shit sandwich? Well, you know you're eating the right one when someone who's doing the same thing as you throws it down on the table and they're like, "Oh, I cannot take another bite. I'm out." But you're eyeing up that sandwich on the table. You're like, "Oh, you're not going to finish that? Can I have it?" And so, when you know you're doing what you're meant to do, and like
Mhm.
just for you, you have your work, you're doing a podcast, it can become multidimensional and it can go in different directions, but you're in the right lane. So when you know that you're in the right lane, it's your job to show up as best you can and focus on the impact. It's kind of like anxiety. You would know more about this than I would, but when we focus on service and we focus on others, it takes a lot of the stress and anxiety out of it. So it's really good to set up the sales system in a way that's service focused and benefit driven. So you share your story and what you do, you get curious about them and what they need, you let them know how you can meet those needs, and you ask the questions. So being prepared, so important. So many people, I'm like, do you have a script? What? No.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, in script, I'm like, we don't even have to use the word script. Do you have prepared questions? Whatever, like, let's just take any possible barrier away possible. Be ready because you get in these great conversations with people. Like, I'm sure you have, a handful of questions just there just to grab from to move the podcast along. You need to do that when you're in the sales process. You need to have the questions to take people on the journey. They book time with you, they probably have somewhere else to be. So you need to have that conversation, in the window that you scheduled with them. And so being prepared and being intentional is really, really helpful. And
Mhm.
I always say,
Yeah.
why not you? Why not you? You don't get to decide for anybody else that you're not the right fit. You can let them decide. And in
Yeah.
sales, there is a saying, like I used to do, oh my gosh, when I worked in television, I had to raise all the money for my travel show. So that we like it was a lot of phone sales. And if I was doing 10%, like close rate of 10%, I was winning. That means 90% of my interactions with people was rejection, right?
Mhm.
That's tough. So I get it. I've been through the slugfest of it.
Yeah. And it's that willingness to keep showing up because I feel like when you know that what you're doing is like when you believe in what you're doing and you know that it's
Yeah.
impactful and there's a purpose to it, it's
Yeah.
actually the most like ethical, integral thing that you can possibly do is to share that
Yeah.
with other people, right? And when you're talking about like being outwardly focused, when we're focused on ourselves, when we're in fear or we're in worry or we're in self-doubt, it's actually like super selfish because we're thinking about
Hmm.
ourselves, right? And when we can blow that in the other direction, we can think about the people that we're going to impact
Yeah.
and what they need and the gifts that they
Yeah.
need to get from us so that they can have the
Yeah.
life that they want.
Yes.
Then that's the selfless thing to do, right? Like it's the most
100%.
beautiful way. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so then I'm curious then what do you do to like help these people to kind of carry this with them so that they can set it up, they can feel really comfortable with it, they can go with it, like how do you build a business where you're like, okay, I love what I do and I believe in myself, but I'm also out there and doing what I need to do to
Yeah.
make money and make it a
Yes.
business.
It's a good question. It's a great question. I think there's motion and action in business, right? Okay, let's
Yeah.
get the clarity. Let's build the systems. Let's create the strategy. That is all motion. It's
Mhm.
when we're ready for action to do the outreach, to implement the strategy that a lot of people, maybe I'll take another course. Maybe
Yes.
I'll, revisit.
Oh my god,
So,
like as if
like you need
you,
another course. I'm like, you
exactly.
don't
You
love, yeah,
you don't know
love
how
that you
often
want
I
to
hear
learn.
that in my office.
I
Just
feel
one more
you.
thing. I just need one more piece of information. Let me just go do some research. No,
Yeah,
take
yeah,
action. Yeah.
100%. So ideally, I would say, um, I just want to say, like, you don't have to hire a coach. You don't have, but we're not supposed to do this alone. Okay. We are not supposed to do this alone. If you want to stay small in your business, keep doing everything yourself. So if you are in a place where you've had a modicum of success and you have a budget, invest it wisely. If you're just starting out and you have just have no resources to invest, there's great opportunity. When I was first starting out, I would barter with people for websites and photographs and all kinds of things. And so, barter wisely. But to get started, invest in yourself to set yourself up. You need good systems. I love the quote from Atomic Habits. We do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. So set
Mm.
yourself up with a system. And sales, I was sharing this the other day, um, if you imagine a puzzle scattered on the table, usually you'll look at the box, take in the picture, and decide what feels easiest. I usually do the border, but you look at the part of the puzzle and you start there. And as you work through the puzzle, you save the hardest part for last. And we're the same with business. 100%. And often the sales system gets done last or it never gets clicked into place. And you need one. It is integral to your success. So set up systems in your business, dive into your personas or ideal client avatars, whatever you like to call them. We really need to map it out. I do this in-depth process. I always apologize to my clients. I'm like, I know this is a massive worksheet, but trust me, I have clients, they come back to me years later. They're like, I still access this document to decide on marketing strategy and new offerings, etc. So understand who you're working with in detail so you understand what they need to hear to work with you. And then from there, you really want to unpack your offering ladder. You need to make it clear to people what you do and how they hire you. When people ask you what you do, I understand a lot of people send proposals. And so it depends is an honest answer. But when someone's talking to you and they're like, oh, how much does it cost to work with you? You need to give them some kind of real answer. If you say it depends, it pushes that business away. It pushes away potential referrals. So you need to figure that out for yourself, how to answer that question. Really, really important. Um, I will say this too, when you're in the sales cycle, there's so much ghosting that goes on. So please,
Mhm.
please, please never end a meeting without booking your next meeting. Get it on the calendar. It anchors them because we all go through a buyer's remorse cycle of, oh, do I want to do that? Is it a good idea? Is this a good time? But if you've already booked a follow-up session, it's on the calendar, it anchors it, and then there's no back and forth there. And so um, I think I answered your question.
I think you did. So then, is there anything that, you could gift to these listeners, a piece of wisdom or, something that they could
Um,
start to take action on right now to carry forward, as they try to step into your model of the world?
yeah. I want you to define success for yourself.
Mm.
We need to define what success means to us, not the conditioned version of success. I work with a lot of people that got the education, bought the house, married the person, popped out to some kids, and they're like, why am I not happy? What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You just were told this is the path. You need to take some time to figure out what your path is. So define success, because maybe you want to franchise your business. Maybe you want to pick your kids up from school every day and just, see 6 clients a week. I don't know. Only you know. And isn't it fun that you get to figure that out? What you want and what you need is not a problem.
Mhm.
It's really
Yeah.
important. So take that time for yourself and define what success means. And if it feels uncomfortable, trust that that's simply a sign that it's something new. If you're like warm and tingly and leaning into it, that's a great sign that you're like, yeah, I should do this. But if you're like
Mhm.
rearing away and tightening and cold when you think about it, that's a no. That's a no. And yeah, last thing I'll say is one of the favorite Lisa isms that's come back to me over the years from my clients is if it's not a fuck yeah, it's a no.
Mhm.
Don't do it. Right? Don't should all over yourself. Define success, be clear, and take action towards the things that you want and have
Mhm.
systems in your business.
Yeah, totally. Being like very clearly defined in that outcome that you're driving towards helps you to be focused on that outcome and super
Yeah.
flexible about how you get there, right?
Yeah.
Because you know where you're going. And if a bump in the road comes along, you can swerve around it to get where you need to go instead of being like, oh, well, I guess it's not worth it to keep going, right?
Yeah, there's
So,
always a bump in the road.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
and a rainstorm, maybe a
Yeah.
tsunami. We just don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, exactly. I love that point. When you're clear on where you're going, yeah, and just remember there's no easy button on this. That's why you got to eat the shit sandwich.
Yeah. It's true, right? There's always something, but it's like, is that something worth it to get to where you wanna go, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So, I think that this is a beautiful place to leave this at. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lisa. I really appreciate you sharing, your model and, how you integrate this and share it with others. So if anybody listening here is going, wow, she sounds like a coach I want to be connected with. And I've been doing this all on my own and I don't want to do it alone anymore. I'm going to leave all of the details so that you can connect up with Lisa and you can reach out to her as well. And yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.